So let's look at the Anunnaki, then the Dark Overlords. Anunnaki, one of the names it means in Sumerian or Sumerian is they come from the skies. The Anunnaki, as I said, were originally rebel Pleiadians and Centaurians. They were invited in by the Atlanteans in the last part of the empires. There are 3 Atlantean empires. There's the original empire, there's the second empire, and then there's the third empire. There's this later third empire which had the Anunnaki in it, plus another group of dark non-humans that had come here as part of a vast posting by the Anchara Alliance that were part of the process to finally try to destroy the last of the fully conscious Earth humans that were in exile, that were the sons and daughters of the leader group of the Atlanteans. So now let's look at these guys. This is Anu, the so-called father of the Sumerian gods. Now in all the pantheons that are created all over the world, in India, in Egypt, in Sumeria, in the native parts of the Americas, all over the Pacific, we have sky gods. These sky gods, for the most part, are very warlike. And when I get into talking about Lemuria, I talk about Hawaii, and you can see how the remnants of the Lemurian civilization that was taken over by the Polynesians, who represented the Sumerian very super violent sky gods, you can see the difference between how that all amalgamated together. But anyway, let's go back to just the Anunnaki themselves and not talk about the fact that this was a worldwide phenomenon, because they were in charge of all of us no matter where we were. So this is Anu. Whenever you see them, they have on their pilot hat, which is this strange weird thing, and they're always shown as sky gods, so they have their wings. Now Anu was, as I said, the father of a whole pantheon of beings, and here you can see this whole process of the many types of sky gods, and these names are repeated in other pantheons, as I said, throughout the area of history. So, for instance, Zeus was father of the gods, as Anu was father of the gods. Brahma is the main general father of the Hindus. The warrior part of the leaders is, for instance, Shiva, and this is just to show you India and Sumeria is Enlil. So Shiva and Enlil. The destroyers, the warriors. Then there's the feminine fertility, the re-life, the wisdom, the female wisdom, the nurturing energies that provide for the eternal coming forth of the human race and allowing it to keep going forward. And as it says here, the Anunnaki have many names. So you have Durga. Nema is the same being in the pantheon of the Sumerians, and Hathor is the Egyptian. Now the Anunnaki had to find a way to get us to worship them, to declare ourselves believers that they were our creators, because they needed our energy. When we actually worshiped them, we were giving out our energies. We were giving away our power to them. In doing this, it allowed them to survive, because these energies, once they get on the dark side, need constant renewal in order to survive, in order to maintain their immortality. So that's why they needed us to be total believers that they were our creators, and that we were not part of a great fall that had been basically instigated by them and a lot of their cohorts, namely the Atlanteans and the people from Anchara. So now they created a biblical-like creation myth. Now when, for instance, the Hebrews went into Babylonia, had the Babylonian captivity, they began to see this creation myth. Also the time when Moses was in Egypt and was thoroughly schooled in the Egyptian mysteries, once again this same creation myth. So all these myths together basically created one myth. So it's biblical, it's Sumerian, it's Egyptian, and it goes all the way through all the ancient cultures. So this is the belief that humans were created from something lesser, whether they say clay or from apes, as it's shown here. They were made human by the amazing abilities of the Anunnaki, and therefore we needed to fully create a oneness with them and to worship them. So this is the Anunnaki then. They simply used us to create the energies to allow them to survive. Once again, they were rebels invited in by the Atlanteans who took over after the fall of Atlantis. The Anunnaki became the intermediary for nearly 13 millennia between man and the Dark Galactic Lords. And remember, there was a time at which there would be a divine intervention which would back up and change the Dark Galactic Lords and would change the whole process of this planet and how it was to react to the energies of these overlords. Now, let's look at the Anunnaki and the change. Now, as we said here, the whole concept for allowing them to do what they were doing, and we'll get into why all this when we tie it together, is that they believed in heaven that we needed, as part of this divine plan, we needed to be able to go through the dark energies, to experience it, to understand it, to be a part of it, and to take that experience and that wisdom from it and use it when we became fully conscious again to help this incredible galaxy become light again. Now, this is the kicker. Archangel Michael comes as part of this prophecy. He was said by the divine that when the time came and this lease, so to speak, that the Anunnaki had been given was up, he would come and would talk directly to the head honcho, so to speak, the Dark Lords themselves, the Enchara, and he would create out of Enchara a change. And sure enough, Enchara listened to Michael, listened to the energies of the light, and made a decision. They decided it was time to end the darkness and change everything into light. And so an energy went out to all parts of this galaxy, to all its dark parts and its darkest places, to say that the light had come and the light was changing everything. So now this great call had been sent. They listened to Michael, and Chara then asked all the major empires of the dark that had basically lorded over this galaxy and created one war after another, one great discrepancy, creating death among all who were not immortal, all who were not fully conscious, and to create within this something new, to create within it an amalgamation of light and dark that would become an even greater light. And this was the Treaty of Enchara, signed between the Galactic Federation and the Enchara Alliance in the mid-90s. It changed everything. Suddenly the dark was telling the Anunnaki that the time had come to stop what they were doing, to not complete those incredibly bad plans that they had for all of us on this world, and to change it and to allow us to become fully conscious. We must now become, the Encharans told our friends the Anunnaki, we must become light. And so the Anunnaki, believing in this, seeing what was happening in this galaxy, retreated to Nibiru, retreated to that planet of the crossings that it has this 3,600-year orbit, and went to this former Galactic Federation battle planet that had been abandoned after the end of the destruction of what today we are calling, when it is reconstructed, Pax, which many people know as Maldek. And they went forth back to their world and waited for the Galactic Federation to return. And they told those people that had been the intermediaries between them, meaning the Anunnaki, and the people, to change as well. These were the people that we call the Illuminati, the Illuminoids, the Illuminari. They have all different kinds of names. There had originally been a council, an Anunnaki council of 12. This represented the 12 major gods, led, of course, at the head of the table, Anu. And there was a committee of 300, along with the so-called kings of the world. Each section you see here had a king. There was a Latin American, African marginal bloc king. There was the Colombian Golden Trial, Afghanistan drugs king, etc. All these kings were now told, as well as the Anunnaki themselves, the various families that were made it up, that the time had come for their rule to end. The time had come to allow the light to come forth, to allow the Galactic Federation to come forth, to allow a whole new age to begin on this planet. Not an age of darkness, but an age of light. And the Anunnaki then went and became advisors to the Galactic Federation on first contact. Their task was to explain to the first contact team who are these people that they trained and protected for so many millennia, and how do they think, and what can be done to make them understand that indeed this great change had happened. So as it says here, the Anunnaki became advisors for the first contact team on the ways of the Dark Cabal. The Anunnaki intended to return to their many former homeworlds once this first contact began, so that while we were returning to being fully conscious and becoming rulers of this magnificent solar system and guardians of all the magnificent beings that make it up, all the planets and the sun, etc., they would then return to their homeworlds, because Nibiru would be converted into a natural world. This would be done by the various beings in heaven who had come into this world to create this new reality.